Trichomoniasis is a reproductive disease that can cause problems in cow herds. It is usually spread by the bull, and herds that have been diagnosed with this disease usually have a high incidence of abortions early in the pregnancy, and the end result is a cow herd with a high percentage of the cows open at the end of the breeding season. So it can be very economically devastating to a cow herd, especially a beef cow herd, where they're reliant on a high percent of breeding and a high percent calf crop the next year. The disease is predominantly found in the western states, but in recent years it's popped up here in the state of Kansas. That has led Kansas to do what other states have done historically. In 2011, animal health officials in Kansas put in a new regulation, but that regulation only applies to bulls that are being imported into the state of Kansas. And the regulations that it continues to exist since that time essentially is that a bull that's over 18 months of age, before it can come into the state, would have to have a negative trichomoniasis test. And that test would have to be done within 30 days of the date of import. Since that time, trichomoniasis continues to show up, and in fact has escalated into the state. This year, thus far, there are 15 herds in Kansas that have been diagnosed. That number may not sound alarming, but again, if you or a neighbor has trichomoniasis, it can be very, very devastating to the bottom line and may end up resulting in a lot of liquidation to clear it up. So in recent years, there's been a lot of discussion to see about possibly adopting more regulations in Kansas, and there's been a trichomoniasis work group that's looked at what other states have required and therefore have put forth a proposed regulation that's been put forth by the Animal Health Agency within the Department of Agriculture in Kansas, and it has now been published and open for comment. And this new regulation has two aspects to it that are important. Number one, it's going to start with a new requirement for intrastate transfer of bulls. So bulls that would be sold through private treaty or auction for breeding purposes, in many cases those will have to be tested. Those would be bulls that are over 18 months of age, bulls that are non-virgin or of unknown status would have to have a negative test. There would be an exception for bulls that move directly to slaughter, and another exception for bulls up to 24 months of age, but only those that would come from a herd that has an approved trichomoniasis management plan. So that's one aspect, and that is to address intrastate movement of bulls. The other aspect that's in the regulation relates to cows that are being imported. In essence, a cow could not be imported into Kansas except for a list of exceptions, and one of those is that if the cow is going directly to slaughter, if the cow has a calf at side and has not been exposed to a bull, if the cow is 120 days or more pregnant, a virgin heifer that has not been exposed to a bull, and a heifer or cow that's been documented by a veterinarian to be in 120 days or more of sexual isolation. Cows or heifers that have been exposed to bulls that have been certified tested negative would be exempt, and cows or heifers purchased for feeding or slaughter purposes, and cows or heifers that are being imported for the purpose of embryo transfer or artificial insemination purposes would be exempt. So in essence, it's designed to keep those open cows that may have been exposed to trichomoniasis from coming into Kansas and spreading the disease. The regulation is in the comment period, and producers and those that are interested are encouraged to submit public comments by September 4th. And on September 4th, there will be a public hearing for those who want to make an oral presentation. You can find more information about the regulation and how to provide comments by going to the KLA website, www.kla.org. The Kansas Livestock Association has supported most of these aspects. The membership has not really studied or debated the new proposal in relation to cows. So the KLA Stock Growers Council and the Board of Directors and the Stock Growers Council Exec Committee will be reviewing and discussing that in the coming weeks in preparation for comments to submit by September 4th. So again, we urge you to look at those regulations and provide comments to the department or directly to us here at the Kansas Livestock Association.